Morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our Digital EMEA FP&A Circle webinar today, where we are going to talk about the first steps into AI in FP&A. So getting started without getting overwhelmed. My name is Hans Gobin. I will be the facilitator today. Just so you know, we have well over 400 people joining us from 45 countries or so around the world. So we also have a packed set of presentation insight coming up very, very shortly. So let me move on and introduce to you what we have for you in the agenda. So introduction, what's driving the shift? Why are we doing AI? Who is doing AI and not doing AI? Getting back to basics, identifying quick wins that can make a difference. Starting the AI journey, AI implementation. So we've got Takeda case study, the role of technology in AI. Finally, we will move on to do conclusions and recommendations and the Q&A session towards the end. All the way throughout, we will be talking about via use cases, what is happening in the world of AI and how to go about implementing AI. It is now a good point for me to start introducing our panelists. So panelists, if you can turn your camera on and come off mute, and let me introduce you one by one. Our first panelist today is João Caldas, who is FP&A Director at the Miele, based in Stockholm, Sweden. And today he will be taking us through getting back to basics, identifying those quick wins that can make a difference. João, great to have you with us today.
Great to be here, Hans, and alongside such a strong panelists.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. You're welcome. So our second panelist today is Stefan Spiegel, Vice President, Finance and Controlling at ETH Zurich, of course, based in Zurich, Switzerland, starting the AI journey with lots of case studies, etc. coming our way. Stefan, great to have you with us again.
So thanks a lot, Hans. It's very nice to be here.
Thank you. Third panelist, Karina Riccio, Global Head of G&A Finance, Digital and FP&A Excellence at Takeda, based again in Zurich, Switzerland, will be talking to us about how Takeda has been doing AI implementations, the learnings, etc. Karina, great to have you on the platform today.
Thank you very much, Hans. My pleasure.
Brilliant. Last but not least, we've got Dr. Rolf Giegenmentel, Chief Product Officer at Jedox, based in Frankfurt, Germany. And of course, Rolf will be taking us through the role of technology in AI. Rolf, great to have you with us again.
Yeah, thank you, Hans. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got 5 fantastic panelists, great insight and presentation coming from them shortly. But for now, panelists, can I please ask you to turn your camera off and go on mute? As I do, some housekeeping as always. First of all, a very quick introduction and thank you to our global technology sponsor, Jedox. We all know Jedox very, very well, the world's most adaptable planning and performance management platform. So thank you, Jedox. For those who are not in tune with what FP&A trends do, here is a good list of all the activities that we do for the FP&A community. So we have international FP&A board around the world, 289 meetings so far. We have been doing FP&A trends webinar. This is another one of them, 183. We have done lots of surveys. So I think it's year 6 or 7 now. So please help us participate on the surveys. Lots of papers we've done on AI, as well as on various different subjects. So if you want to deep dive into AI, please go to our website. We've got a fantastic LinkedIn group, as well as lots of people visiting our website. Let's not forget, given the fact that we're talking about AI, we also have an AI FP&A committee that's been going on since 2018, and membership to that is free. We have had 28 meetings. So we have been looking at the subject of AI since 2018 in finance. So please, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more, go to our website. you will get much more information from there. Now, what is this Digital FP&A Circle? We are in for 90 minutes webinar, so please stay with us throughout the journey. We have 3 fantastic polling questions. We know what our panelists are doing within their own organization. We want to know what you guys are doing as far as AI is concerned. Interactive Q&A session, so you can ask your question via the chat box right now, or wait until the panelists have spoken one after the other, and then you can ask the question. Make sure you direct and let me know who you want the questions to be asked to. You can connect directly with our speakers through LinkedIn, so please make sure you do that. Presentation is available for you to download in the handout section right now, or if not, you will get a copy and a link to the recording a couple of days after the meeting ends. Finally, when I close, we have a feedback pop-up that comes up. It takes about a minute, not more. Please give us a good idea as to how we did, but also tell us what would you like for us to bring to you in the next sessions. So please give us some feedback at the end. Now, I've got a few slides. I don't have much time to run through, but just very, very quickly, from our FP&A trend survey, use of AI in FP&A. So what we can see here is 10% of organization polled use it for producing forecasts, 10% for analyzing data, 27% for automating parts of FP&A processes, but 53% don't use AI at all. Right. 3 roles of AI in FP&A from what we've seen and the paper we've written. First one, productivity enhancement. Second one, insight generation. Third one, decision support and simulation. Of course, there's bullet points under each one of them. You can absorb these, but you can also go to our website and you'll get into the AI paper that will give you much more information. Now, what are the challenges preventing AI adoption in FP&A? We've got 7 challenges here that we identified as being very, very important that need to be dealt with as well. And they are split into 3 buckets. So cultural leadership and barriers, technical and trust challenges, and finally, capability and resourcing gaps. So again, guys, please go back to our AI paper and you will get all the details from there. And then finally, how do you build that successful AI tool within your organization? Again, we've identified a 7-step process, so much more detail in our paper. Without further ado, let me introduce to you my first speaker today. Again, João Caldas, FP&A Director at Miele, and today he will take us through getting back to basics, identifying the quick wins that can make a difference through AI. Over to you, João, whenever you're ready. There we go.
Thank you, Hans. Yeah, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here once again and to share a little bit of my experience with AI and on a private note even. And if you move on to the next slide, I think essentially AI is not something new. We have been hearing about it much more recently, but this is something that has existed for a while, and machine learning and regression analysis and in statistical models, they have existed. It still surprises me that looking at the slide previously that you shared, Hans, we have 50% of our teams not really capitalizing on it. We have today 500 million monthly users across the globe, and that number is actually escalating exponentially. And we are expecting that to actually reach 3 billion. 1/3 of the world's population should be by 2030 using monthly AI to some shape or form. And we have, of course, quite a lot of models that are from the normal Google search point of view, people using large language models to just search for information they're looking for, to full movies with high definition being created with AI. But our teams are not using it in the way they could. And in 2022, we saw the explosion of and the hype of AI with the ChatGPT 3.5 being launched. And I remember very clearly how that was a fundamental change in the way we interact with the internet even. If you move on to the next slide. Essentially, my my journey with AI got accelerated by creating games with my kids. My kids, they just want to create a game, and we decide to launch it, and they want to become millionaires and have games that are selling. But then I kind of, instead of building something that extremely big from the get-go, let's bring it back to the step-by-step. And essentially, that's the framework I use with my kids, from simple to a bit more complicated. But I just want to say most of these that I've used and I will show here in the slides are based on my own research, based on my tests and prototyping. We are not there yet when it comes to implementation at Miele. And that's something that we are going to see across the society be more and more visible and more and more implemented and used. And if we move on to the next slide, we will see that essentially what I tried to do here was, let's not build a full model. Before we can have statistical models, before we have forecasting tools that are really start to end automated, maybe we should just bring back to what is really the key pain points for us. And in this level here, which is the most basic one, we are using LLMs, essentially large language models, to help us to learn new things, to come up with ideas, to maybe discuss some of the processes and the challenges we have in the organization. But I think one of the main one here that I felt that it's really a game changer is testing and prototyping dashboards, for example. What you see on the right-hand side, there is actually a full dashboard that was created by the tool Perplexity, which is a tool that I didn't know about, but it can, based on the dummy data, I created this dashboard in a very simple 5 minutes. So this is just to show the possibilities that we have with tools that are widely available for all of us, either on a free basis or almost free. If we move on to the next one, and then here we start getting to a little bit more efficiencies. The next level is essentially how can we look at automating the repetitive tasks that we are doing in our teams. And also tools are available today, even within Microsoft. Some of you might know that Microsoft has implemented Python within the Excel, which essentially means that you can get Python code from a large language model, because I myself, I haven't been a programmer. I'm using AI to learn those things. So I can get a full script in Python and then use tables and charts and clean data and reconcile data and even run simulations, all of that within Excel. So I would really recommend you looking at what the Microsoft packages you have, because Copilot is also being rolled out within Excel, which means that instead of going away into Copilot and getting the code that you need for Python, you actually do that within the same environment of Excel. And this is a game changer. We do not have yet Copilot built in Excel, at least not internally, but Python is definitely available within Excel. And for me, a game changer has been the last point there, which is the VS Code. VS Code is a tool within Microsoft package that you can actually create programs and dashboards also locally in your machines without putting data available online. And I know as a fact that most of the organizations I've worked with has had VS Code available for installation. And that combined with GitHub Copilot, which is also a functionality within VS Code, we can query large language models to actually build the full program, the full dashboards, the full Python automation, reconciliation, and workflow that it's needed for our teams. So I would strongly recommend looking at this, because this is definitely a game changer in terms of time saving. And last but not least, which is a little bit more advanced, this is something that privately I have implemented at home. At home, we have a very disorganized structure in terms of data, insurances, contracts, mortgages, and whatnot. And every time we need to actually look for information, it's a really time-consuming exercise. So this is something called RAG. It's retrieval augmented generation, also widely available nowadays. It's essentially combining an AI tool, either locally fine-tuned or otherwise, with the context that you have. And I put all this material personally into a folder and then I can use the likes of ChatGPT to actually query that available information that's not available for anybody else but me and my family. So with this kind of workflow, we start seeing actually insights. We start seeing historical data being translated into actions and reporting. And again, this is available for everyone. Python is required here, but as I said earlier, you can use the LLMs and the other tools that are available for us to actually develop those things and take that to the next level. If I were to just conclude that with the corporate environment, imagine all the processes you have, all the historical data you have, and then instead of fetching the data in reports and systems, we query, using natural language model, and then we can run simulations and actually start taking decisions based on those numbers. But if we move on to the next slide, I think what I'll try to say here is there is a lot of tools. Everything's available. It's very easy, even for kids, to build games. And I think here it's really about trying. Let's not be left behind. There is so many use cases available, but ultimately you need to identify what is really important to you and your organization. What are the time-consuming tasks that should be automated or eliminated? Use the tools available to understand how to take this to the next level, because AI will just continue growing and continue being used on a day-to-day in different tools, and not trying to tackle certain things right now will be a difficult exercise later on when everybody's already at that level. The trends, there is a lot on YouTube, a lot of information on blogs and people talking about it, and experts using real use cases of AI in their organizations, and we'll see some of them today, but really choose the ones that matter to you. And lastly, of course, all of this needs to be taken into account in terms of security and confidentiality. I would strongly recommend to look at local models, tools that are not online, that you can keep within your own machine and within your own environment. And Microsoft is good, at least from that perspective, to have those available within the Microsoft toolpack. Yeah. So don't put the cart ahead of the horse. Look at what makes you run faster. Take a look at each task or repetitive task that your team today are doing and are not adding value. And there is a lot to gain. Yeah. And once you actually start, you see the opportunities and the possibilities are endless. And with that, I pass the torch back to you, Hans, and thank you.
Joao, brilliant, great presentation. Amazing things I've picked up, not knowing some of these other tools that is available. We all know ChatGPT and Copilot. I think for me, what was eye-opening is Perplexity and that dashboard you shared as well. Really, really powerful, but really kind of playing with AI at home. And I've actually seen quite a few of those standalone pieces, for example, tax tools that are using AI in very, very GPT type environment, but looking at all the different tax manual, HMRC, etc., and pulling the right sort of information. So spot on there. Thank you absolutely very much for a great presentation. I mean, we've seen what you're doing. Let us move to a polling question and see what our audiences are doing. So what is the main barrier to adoption of AI, do you think, in your organization? And we've got 4 choices here: is lack of understanding, lack of skill set, lack of leadership support, or lack of resources. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can give us your opinion by voting on this. So what is the main barrier to adoption of AI in your organization? Lack of understanding of AI, lack of skill set, lack of leadership support, or is it lack of resources? I'll give you another 10 seconds for you to vote. And we will share the results shortly with everyone. So let us close it now and share the results. So what do the results say? 37% say lack of understanding, lack of skill set 32, lack of leadership about 15, and lack of resources about 15 as well. Joao, what do you think of the outcome here?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I actually thought that leadership support would be higher up in in the priorities here, but actually lack of understanding for me, at least personally, was something that was stopping me from running faster. It's what is available and choosing what really matters to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. I think hopefully understanding from this webinar today will take you to that next sort of level, and then you can share that with your organization as well. So thank you very much for voting. Thank you, Joao, for the insight. Let me close the polling question, and then we will go to our next piece, which is a question from Joao to the other panelists. So let me ask the other panelists to come and join us on the camera. Also, just a quick reminder to our audience, please, you can start sending your questions now, and just make sure you tell me who you want it to be answered. So panelists, if you can come and join us, Karina, if you can come and join us as well. So what is that one manual activity that you would like to get AI to perform? Stefan, let us go to you for a quick answer.
Oh, it's very simple. We still have too many manual reporting issues that within our organization. So this would be a very quick one to answer.
Yeah, so reporting is the key focus for you, and the key thing that you would like to resolve. Karina, what are your thoughts? What are your answers?
Well, possibly something that takes really long time is the OpEx planning, so bottoms up planning, but that would be, of course, the dream, but it's, of course, very challenging because we know that OpEx are conscious decisions, but that would be something where I would expect if we get some help from AI, that would be great.
Fantastic. I mean, you know, your case study is coming shortly as well, and then they're very, very interesting case study there. So I'm sure people are eager to find out, and hopefully you will get that done in the next year or two as well yourself. Rolf, your thoughts?
I'm very much in line with the reporting piece, but hoping that with AI, I get the end users who need the analysis and the reports can do it by themselves, so that they don't always need to have a specialist doing a preparation for an end user.
Yeah, and I think you're going to share a little bit on that as well, you know, in your sort of case study anyway. So fantastic. Thank you for your answer there. Joao, would you like to sum it up now, please?
Yes, absolutely. I think just answering this question, because I've spent so much time thinking about it, the ideal scenario would be demand planning connected to financial planning in one rolling process. But if I just go back to the basics, which is the whole point, I would say cleaning data, structuring data, everything starts there.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, panelists, thank you very much for the insight, and thank you for this question as well, Joao. Let us now move on to our next session. So our next session is going to be delivered by Stefan Spiegel, who is Vice President Finance and Controlling at ETH Zurich. And Stefan is going to talk to us about starting the AI journey. Stefan, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Hans, and good afternoon, everybody. In this presentation, I focus a little bit on my experience, how to start the AI journey. So just first thoughts. If you look at functionalities within the FP&A department, then I think there are different tools that you can use out of the whole AI spectrum. So for example, large language models, ChatGPT, for example, is one of the tools that everybody knows at the moment. But also there are other tools like operations research, machine learning, or robotic process automation. There are different tools. And on the next slide, what you should be aware on is just that the large language models, the capabilities over the last few years, they have exceeded the human capabilities. So it is worth really thinking about the possibilities how to implement such tools within our organizations. But, and you see it on the next slide, if you look where ChatGPT is used, actually, you see the main usage is within guidance, within search for information, or within writing. But if you look at data analysis, it's below 1%. So at the moment, large language models, they help for certain issues, but of course not for every question within FP&A. Now, turning on the use cases. I just start with one of my favorites. This is on the next slide. It's the use case 0, how I call it, because never forget about just optimizing your processes or eliminating your processes. It's still the most efficient way of generating impact. So never do any digitalization on processes that are useless for your organization. So this is my use case 0. Then if you go further, I start with the use case 1. It's a decision-taking problem. So we at our university have the problem of scheduling a limited number of teaching rooms to a well-defined program of examination sessions. To solve this problem, we just used operation research methods. It's an optimization problem, and we got savings of more than 1 million Swiss francs for our university. So it's a simple, very clearly defined optimization problem. Use case 2, you know it, and you will hear more about it. It's just about you can automate your forecasting processes. So here you see revenue from you see daily revenues from shipping goods, and you see how the automated forecast fits very well into these daily figures. So with machine learning, and this is actually the model, you can just here automate your forecast processes. But how did we implement such tools? On the next slide, I show you that for us, it was very simple. We just hired 2 operation research and machine learning specialists. So just 2. They started within our company. Of course, you have to provide the data, the IT specialists, to so that you have the necessary database, of course, but these people you normally have inside your company. And the other thing, as we already learned, for example, within Excel, but also if you just program in Python, this is open source, so you can use such software without paying any licensing costs. So it's very simple to start on such use cases with a very few people, but you can start it. The next use case I present is just an application of large language models. If you go on the next slide, of course, you can build chatbots within your own or with your own information, so not going into public. For example, if we put on our financial regulations within this chatbot, there are, for example, the questions, are there any prescriptions concerning reimbursements of lodging costs? And with no time difference, you see the answer out of the chatbot. But you can even use such a chatbot to generate on-demand learnings. So for example, this chatbot just generates a question for everybody, like what type of hotel are you allowed to use? And you prompt your answer, and then you get a feedback from this on-demand learning. So you don't have, even with such instruments, up to build your own e-learnings or doing something like that. You just can use your chatbot, and he generates at once, in no time, additional questions for everybody. So this is also a use case one could use with large language models. Now the next slide, to know how to implement large language models. Of course, on the bottom you have these big layers like OpenAI. Of course, no company should build up its own large language model, because it costs a huge amount, more than $100 million, just to form or to train such a base layer. But when you look on the next levels, so for example, the reasoning layer and the specific application, you don't need a huge amount of training efforts just to use the basic model. So even also here in that case, you could start with a very small team of LLM cracks just to use such base models, to train them with your data within your company, and then you can build up such language models, such chatbots, for example, as I showed before. Going to the next use case. This is a startup company, the AI browser agent company, and this company automizes your tasks that you are doing on a normal browser. So for example, when you want to book a flight ticket from New York to London, you could just prompt in this requirement, and this machine here, it does it for you. It just automizes all manual procedures that you're normally doing on your normal web browser. So this is just an example of a startup that automizes such processes. On the next slide, you see another company. This is BLP. She says to be the first intelligent end-to-end ERP automation. So we also make experiments with that startup. So what I want to show you on the next slide is if you go in such areas, you don't have to invent it on your own. Just look at the market around yourself. There are so many startups, so many developments. You can work together with such intelligent startups. It's much easier, and they provide also implementation, provide service, and so on. So I recommend in specific cases to use external providers. And to come to a summary at the end, if you want to start your AI journey, what I recommend is just the first thing is AI journey is never a thing you do just for doing fancy things. It should generate a certain impact. So to make it clear, it's very good to have some project managers within your organization. They push this topic. So they stand for digitalization, they stand for automation, they stand for AI solutions. And they are able to check the market, they are able to understand the processes, they know where use cases exist, and they are able to make the business cases within your company so that your use cases are highly accepted. What you also can do on the second point is just you can distribute AI companions like Microsoft Copilot. We heard it already. But if you do it, everybody could start making his own experiments within your organization. Third, hire a small team of specialists, what I already explained. You don't need a huge workforce for that, but only a very few specialists. They can follow and trigger the use cases. And at the end, of course, you have the appropriate IT architecture for operating such solutions. That's a prerequisite, but normally within your IT department, you should have such knowledge. And with that, I'm at the end of my presentation. Thanks for your attention.
Stefan, brilliant presentation. Thank you for taking us from the very beginning as to how you yourself are using AI and all the different steps and what people can think about in, the first few steps to take AI within their organization. Fantastic use cases there. So ladies and gentlemen, I would recommend you connect with Stefan and all of our panelists, but also digest the presentation in your own time and look at all of these companies that have been mentioned so far in both presentation. But now let us look at what are you guys doing in terms of our next polling question. So which area of FP&A can benefit the most from AI integration, do you think? So ladies and gentlemen, if you can vote. So which area of FP&A can benefit most from AI integration? Is that automation of repetitive and time-consuming tasks, predictive forecasting and scenario planning, anomaly and pattern detection, finally, dynamic insights generation and storytelling, so the softer side of things, insight generation and storytelling, automation of repetitive tasks, predictive forecasting, scenario planning, anomaly detection, or is it dynamic insight, insight generation and storytelling? If you can vote, please, I'll give you another 5 seconds. I am just about to now end the voting and share the results. So I think what our audience is telling us is that 46% are talking about automation of repetitive tasks, 34% predictive planning, 12% pattern and anomaly detection, and finally, storytelling is 8%. What are your thoughts on this, Stefan?
Yeah, for me, I think we see here the biggest pain points within FP&A organizations. So and the pain points are just that I don't have time to discuss about business issues if I have to do so many repetitive tasks or so many, let's say, manual steps within our processes. And I think these are the pain points we see here. Also, the forecasting and planning processes is the next pain point, where are very time-consuming processes. And it's just it's a reflection of where we put in our time. This is what I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. And our FP&A survey always shows that, you know, FP&A is spending far too much time in these sort of blocks anyway. So absolutely, you know, eye-opening, but of course expected answers there. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for voting. Thank you, Stefan, for your insight. You can now start sending questions for Stefan if you haven't already. For him to answer in the Q&A session. So ladies and gentlemen, please send your question. Now, let us look at the discussion question that Stefan had for the other panelists. So how big should one start their AI journey? So panelists, if you can all join me on the screen, that would be excellent. So how big should one start the AI journey? Joao, let's go to you first.
Well, I think I was clear in my presentation. I think we need to just start small, find a pain point. Don't try to do everything in one go.
Fantastic, great point there. Let's start small, find the pain points, direct exactly what we're trying to solve, and let's start somewhere. Karina, what are your thoughts? Karina, I think you're on mute. We've slightly lost Karina there. So let us go to Rolf, and then we'll come back to you, Karina.
Yeah, I would also align with that, start small, but a precondition where I would be broad is making AI accessible. So what we also heard in the presentation, make Copilot accessible, that the creativity of many people is getting started, but on very specific, concrete, and relatively small topics. I think this is the best way to get our rolled out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Let's try Karina again. I think Karina is having some mic issues, so we will come back to you, Karina, shortly. Volodya will message you and we will get back to you on that. So I think what we'll do next is go to the next set of presentation, which will be presented by, just bear with me a second. We will move to Rolf. So ladies and gentlemen, our next presenter will be Rolf, and we will come back to Karina after Rolf's presentation. So the role of technology in AI. Rolf, over to you.
Okay,
Karina,
thank you.
turn your webcam off, please.
Hey, thank you, Hans. So after we've seen the examples of how we can apply AI generally and how the different steps are, I'm coming from a slightly different angle, being responsible for product management for an AI product or an FP&A and AI product. And looking at this, we see on the next slide what a challenge is that actually with using AI. In a recent study performed by the MIT from the US, that 95% of the organizations are really not getting the P&L impact. So they don't know whether the projects that they are trying to or doing with AI, whether they are successful. This is a little bit interpreted with the 95% because when you read the study, you see it's probably just not measured. But the problem of what's the impact from AI is visible here. When we look at the second half of the slide, what we see there, the good thing about the study is it also said what makes AI projects possible. And that's in line with what we just discussed of going for smaller practical AI topics. Because when you're really solving real problems, practical AI in the hands of those people who are really having the day-to-day operations, and we talked about the FP&A operations there. And one specific thing that we didn't touch on so far, it's also about the specific data in the FP&A case that's residing, for example, in CRMs, in ERPs, in HR systems, to combine this with AI. And with that, there are also other topics like the business need challenges to really come to these practical AI use cases. So what is in FP&A are the areas where AI can help? We did, of course, with AI, a very simple analysis by analyzing the job descriptions of FP&A roles in organizations. And there you see the different tasks that people are doing. And that's also areas that we got as examples of what we would like to focus on. So budgeting and forecasting. So using the historical data, extrapolating. We've seen this in the examples with the time series analysis and driver-based planning in the beginning, comparing actuals versus forecast, identify the variances to report. Or on the financial reporting side, really just the creation of the dashboards, the creation of the reports. And we've also seen examples how AI can make this faster. Strategic planning is more relevant for what are really drivers. Which alternatives do I have to drive and manage my organization? Decision support, financial modeling, data analysis, and visualization. I don't have to go through all of this because you are all FP&A experts and know the jobs that you're working on. But there's one topic that makes this very, very interesting, because we talked a lot about large language models, about using generative AI in the context of FP&A. And when we are looking on the next slide, what the challenge is when doing this with FP&A data is that large language models alone are very often just not reliable enough, exact enough, and hallucinating too much to really be used for finance reporting. So when we click another time on this slide, we see how what the reasoning behind that is, because on the one hand, as a finance person, you always and necessarily want to report on numbers that are 100% accurate. When the CFO is asked, where did you get this revenue from, or how's the profit that you're reporting calculated, it needs to be 100% exact. And this is what with classical controlling systems is a given, because data is typically organized, and you see this visualized here in this cube, by having context around a number. So you see how the data has changed from the previous period. You see what was the plan and what's the actual number. And typically in all this BI and planning and reporting systems and cubes that are out there, you also see how the data is aggregating. So what are the drivers behind a number? Did I miss my forecast because a region wasn't working, or a product was not good, or a specific sales representative did not bring in the deal that was planned, or whatever the reason are? So this is factual information. And the strength of AI in combination of FP&A is by providing this combination together with the technology that we know with Gen AI. And then there's a lot of privacy and how you want to treat the data. You do not want to expose your internal data that's really showing everything, how the organization is working, into the organization. And this is why a smart combination of having the facts, the structured knowledge, the verification that this knowledge is explainable, combined with the AI technologies that we have seen before in the presentation. And this combination can then be used to do the jobs to be done, or the practical AI needed in FP&A. And on the next slide, we can see some of the examples. And just very simply, what are the tasks that we can modelize, optimize? So there's, of course, the tasks that are internally in the FP&A or the finance department, which is, for example, doing the analysis as a power user, doing the reports, creating the dashboards, but very often also the builders, people that are creating the systems to manage the performance of the organization. On the other hand, there are the end users. So meaning all the people that we are business partnering as a finance department, where we provide the information, the plans, working with them together to look into reports, to identify how to get better. And these are all different areas where we can enhance and optimize and support with AI. And just to give some examples, when we click another time, we can see which areas these are. So for example, as we've heard, the repetitive tasks that you pointed out in the survey before that you would like to automate could be data integration, always doing the data cleansing and the quality checks and refinement of data to get it in a proper way in the system, or creating the business models, writing rules, how you calculate certain KPIs, building dashboards can be very cumbersome when you, and can with AI be very efficient, as we have seen before. Typically, this is a relatively small number of people, of highly specialized people in the FP&A department. The big number of people is then working with the data across the organization. This is why we have business partnering, where people are analyzing the data in all the different departments. So the analyzation from this, when it has to be done by an expert, because the system can only be used by an expert, you use a lot of resources there. When you can have AI helping in that analysis and providing the results and having a conversational way how to find the interesting data, how to get an explanation, that can help also in planning, also in forecasting, in creating reports, and having, for example, the creation of slides that you're using for QBRs, quarterly business reviews, or board decks that need to be created to automate these tasks. And just to get an idea how with modern software something like this can look like, we have on the next slide a couple of examples for the data agent, knowledge agent, planning agent, and reporting agent. So this is what we have here. And when we want to look how this looks like, on the next slide, we see these examples in the system. So for example, how you can use specifically in the context of FP&A data, the data cleansing and data preparation areas. You probably do have driver-based data, not from the finance side normally, but from operations where you might have outliers because a certain day you didn't receive data or there was something wrong in the data. This needs to be cleansed to eliminate for predictions, for example, special effects where you would otherwise get a wrong prediction. So these things can be automated. Also, the analysis of data where you have correlation. So which are the real drivers for your success? So an automated driver-based prediction, which identifies the drivers by testing many different data sets to see what best is for predicting data. You can automate things like this. And then analysis and reporting, having the chatbot, like you know it from ChatGPT or Copilot, but which is referring back to the data that's residing within your FP&A systems, that's not shared with anyone else, but can help you to find the interesting patterns much quicker, because it can test so many different areas in parallel and just show the interesting ones, and also to formulate the findings in natural language by having a chat communication with the system to create the reports. And finally, of course, things that are just pretty complex and take a long time. When you're modeling code, everyone is meanwhile using Python and other things with generated code from AI, of course, within a model like this, using that capabilities to model and create FP&A solutions faster and more successful is another way where practical AI can really make the life of the business users easier. And I hope that gave a good idea how IT systems can, in FP&A, really help and give you practical value. With that, I hand over back to
Brilliant presentation, as always, Rolf. I think this slide really sums it up, the four different aspects, and a lot of the issues and the barriers and what we would like AI to do for us is resolved by just looking at this slide. I really like the analysis and reporting, which is much more the Gen AI type, asking question and getting answers, but also kind of doing some of the first level reporting for us as well. So absolutely brilliant, and thank you very much for sharing such powerful insight as to what software can already do for you and take you really to that next level as well. So fantastic there. Let us now move to our question that Rolf has for the other panelists. So panelists, if you may join us on your camera and come off mute So based on what we've seen here today, where do you see the biggest impact for integrating practical AI into your own FP&A processes? So where would you like to see this impact? Joao.
Well, there are many, but I think I would start with just taking away the copy and paste and the no added value work that our teams are performing today.
Fantastic answer there. Karina, let's go to you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Apologies for that. So I see the biggest impact in reinventing your processes, because it's not only about the tool and the tasks you do, but also how can you redesign your processes to be able to work faster with this technology. So not starting from scratch. This allows finance to have more time to analyze, to be proactive, to spot risks and opportunities. So, which is critical for FP&A.
Fantastic answer there. Thank you very much, Karina. Let us go to Stefan.
Yeah, so for me, the greatest impact, I think, with AI tools could be in decision-taking processes within the company. So if one compares, for example, the amount of or the finance volume, the finance spend you have in a normal company, it's not a huge amount. But if you see what else is going on within your businesses, so the decisions that are taken are so important for the whole company, for the existing and for the future of the company. So these decisions are very often very crucial. And here, having better insights and better possibilities to get decisions, there I think you could make the most impact.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Stefan. Rolf, your final thoughts?
Yeah, no, these were very, very good answers and giving good points. And I think they are to a certain degree combined because when you're just with AI do an inefficient process ongoing, it does not really help. So the reinventing and questioning the processes, I think, is important, and that will change decision taking. And I think the biggest impact that we see in the industry is at the moment, what is this agentic AI, where you have one agent which can talk with another agent and trigger the next topic that has to be done. And this is when decisions are suddenly much more there's a complete way how to make decisions and which decisions can be done by the system so that you can really focus on the strategic ones. So I like the combination of that, really interesting.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your answers to the discussion question. Our next panelists, so let me just get the slides into order, will be Karina Rachel, Global Head of FP&A, of G&A and FP&A Excellence at Takeda. And today she will take us through Takeda's case study. Stefan, if you don't mind turning your camera off as well, please. And we can now hand over to Karina. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Hans. So good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you and share a bit of what has been the journey for us in Takeda. Just to give you a sense of the size of Takeda, it is a 30 billion revenue company, 55,000 employees within the pharmaceutical industry. So, and we decided to start the journey of implementing AI machine learning models in finance to predict our revenue. So, and to summarize a bit on what we have done, we are in the middle of a global rollout with AI machine learning implementation, as I said, with revenue. Everything started with a one use case that we had as a pilot last year with the Europe and Canada region. This has been so far a successful case for us, clearly giving us indication that we can gain a lot of speed, and which many of us would translate as efficiency. And we also have another use case on OPEX that I will not cover here, but yeah, so very first slide, you see this one. This one is more telling you about what are the initial reactions or what was the initial feeling last year. What me and my team thought we are getting into and what we are actually living. And for example, here, probably the most important ones are deploying a tool will be straightforward and the tool will handle everything. When you think about AI, you immediately think, okay, so probably it will do everything on its own. So yeah, we don't need to train everyone. We know that we don't need to train everyone to do predictions now, because we just realize it's not something realistic. The other one that we can say here is everyone can easily learn AI, which is not the case. We know that this is also very specific for data scientists, which are very specialized and very skilled, specifically for programming the models and manage the big data. So this is definitely not the case, because we thought that maybe we can install the tool and everybody can be trained and everybody can do their predictions, which is not the case. And another one I think is about the data. We always tend to think that the more data we have, the better, which is not the case as well. So if we move to the next slide, you see in this one very quickly our approach and timeline. We started with the idea and exploration. We wanted to test, of course, new technologies to improve our revenue forecast. That was the mission. And we felt that we are already working a lot, or we had a foundation in terms of the data. So I appointed a person to manage the data management work stream since more or less 2 years ago, and our clear principles where data needs to be organized, the data needs to be accessible, and the data needs to be governed. So with those principles, we had to make an investment in tools and capabilities as well. And after successfully testing our revenue use case, this was presented globally to our digital committee, senior leadership, and the decision was to scale it up. And we are now in the middle of a process of globalizing this. It is already there, it's real, it's not theoretical, and we have already around 27 countries with a full model in usage. And you see the last two steps here is really what I was saying. Use this to really reinvent your process and see what you can change there. So in the next slide, if we move, we see some of the challenges and how we mitigated them. So, for example, you need expertise, you need to transform or redefine your roles within your function. Yeah, you will have struggles with adoption. There's a lot of skepticism, especially when there's a lack of information on what this really means or what it really is, machine learning, AI. Yeah, a lot of misunderstandings, but I think here we say, okay, education is critical. Be clear on the efficiencies, not really, don't focus yourself on this is going to replace your job or humans or whatsoever. So rather focus on having a robust change management practice and engage also with the data that you are the results that you are having. So, and very important to follow up on outcomes as well. Define your metrics and how do you want to inform your audience on how the models are performing. So, and yeah, nominate as well people that are dedicated to data. Next slide. These are the very first outcomes. As you can see here in the traditional planning, we have also very good forecast accuracy in this use case. And with the AI machine learning predictive planning, we are hitting more or less the same accuracy, but that's not the point. The point is that we are focusing on the efficiency metric, because what you are doing bottoms up from 3 to 5 months, you can do it in 2 hours, and you can actually do it every single month instead of only 3 forecasts that we have. And we are also calculating now that for this specific use case, around 70% of the portfolio can be AI forecasted. Next slide. These are the key learnings and key takeaways. Let's remember, first of all, that AI is not perfect and cannot be applied everywhere. Even though you would like to use it for all your revenue, you need to define your scope and see where you can, where can you start, and where can this be best utilized, as well as informing this to everyone so that everyone is aware on this. Data speaks, engage with results. I have said this one. Also, full dedication and involvement of the business is critical. So you need to educate and at all levels. I think one important one is keep humans in full control and full ownership. Don't give the impression that AI is taking over, or this is still a tool. Remember, it's still a tool, and you as human are in control of this. You control the tool, you use Excel as a tool, and Excel is not going to take the ownership of our lives, right? So it's the same with AI. You have full control, have ownership, and see what is going on. If you need to refine your models, do it. If you need to monitor your models or redefine them, you can still do it as well. So yeah, I think here is a summary of the key takeaways. I hope this was helpful for you to get started or to continue if you have already begun. And remember, one thing, whatever you do well, share your knowledge and help others grow. Thank you.
Karina, fantastic presentation. Absolutely brilliant to see your journey. Absolutely brilliant to see in about a year what you guys have achieved. For me, the stats are amazing. Better accuracy, even though you shied away from saying, you know, good accuracy. Better accuracy by about 1%. The stuff that was taking you 3 to 5 months to do takes now 2 hours. And of course, the resources that were involved in the 3 to 5 month activities would have been massively reduced as well. So now you guys can concentrate on doing the value add stuff, which is much more important, the decision making and everything else that goes with it. So brilliant case study there. We would love to see you come back and share with us, you know, the next step in your AI journey. So thank you very much for that. Let us now look at the polling question that we had after your session. So here, what AI tool do you use most in FP&A? So for those who are already using these, can you please tell us what AI tool do you use most in FP&A? Is it robotic process automation, RPA, predictive analytics and machine learning, natural language processing, or is it all of these? So can you please tell us, for those who are already using it, what are you using it for? RPA, predictive analytics, machine learning, natural language, or is it all of these? I'll give you guys another 10 seconds or so to vote. Please let us know, what are you using AI for? And I'm going to now end and share the results. So thank you very much for voting. So 37% say it's for RPA, so process automation. 23% predictive analytics and machine learning. Natural language is about 32%, and 9% are saying they are using it for all of these. Karina, what are your thoughts on this outcome?
Well, it's surprising to me, because I thought that it will be machine learning on a first place. I think, yeah, robotic process automation is used to automate repetitive tasks. It's right as well. It's more data collection, report generation as well, or reconciliations. But maybe that in Takeda is more in the space of controlling and accounting. Right. So we use it. We use it a lot. So I think it's valid. And then the natural language processing, yeah, I mean, it's this narrative to reporting and these chatbots that you can ask things. And however, in FP&A, specifically in Takeda, we haven't gone through that path. But yeah, thank you.
No, it's brilliant getting to see how people are using it, and I think this will keep interchanging as and when people move between one and the other, and of course your same journey will probably go exactly the same. So thank you very much for that insight, Karina. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for voting. Please keep sending your questions. We will answer some of them today, but all of them will be answered via email straight to your inbox anyway. So let me close this and let us now discuss the question that Karina had for our other panelists. So panelists, if you can join me, please. What did you do as change management strategy during your AI implementation? Very important change management strategy. So Joao, can we come to you for an answer there, please?
Absolutely. I think it's great to see a case like the Takeda one, which shows what can be done. I think before corporations make big investments, prototyping is the way to do. Show what it is to gain, how much time is saved, accuracy, or reporting efficiency and governance, how this is going to benefit the organization before we pitch into big resources allocation and investments.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting the buy-in, but of course showing what benefit that is going to bring, which is what we've seen quite a bit in Karina's case study. So thank you very much for that, Joao. Stefan, your thoughts on this question, change management?
Yeah, just one input here. Before we started in a huge way with this AI journey, I just took the executive management, and we made just we made a workshop or 2-day workshop with some specialized provider, where we got a huge part or a huge amount of inspiration and of presentation. What is all possible with such tools, with such instruments? And we just discussed all these possibilities. And after that, we had real applications. We saw the usage of certain instruments. And after that, we had a huge support from the whole executive management to make some very specified use cases within the company. So this is just an input on how to start with the executive management such a journey.
Yeah. No, great answer there. Thank you very much, Stefan. Rolf, your thoughts?
Yeah, similar, like I said before, we started really with small, high impact pilots and where there were dedicated people, and the communication, why we did this, what are the benefits, what are the stakeholders, what are we expecting, was communicated. And then in parallel, making it accessible in the organization and train other people to build trust and capability and take away that mystic thing and make it real.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have a very similar case study where a few university students went on to work with this company, where they did exactly this predictive forecasting within a day or two, and showed management what difference that would make. And then they went on to work with a proper startup company to do their AI implementation. Karina, your final thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, what we did in Takeda is multiple trainings at all levels, starting, of course, with the finance people, regions, and then countries. We train them to use the tool also with the business to analyze risk and opportunities or the trend itself. You don't start from scratch anymore, right? You start with something, with a prediction that you have to evaluate and have these analytical skills to see, okay, does this make sense? And yeah, the trainings were around the benefits on how this is, you can use these new technologies and changing the process. But it's very important, and I think important is not to overload the finance community in trying to make them understand all the data science mathematics, because that we found out that is not really a good idea. It might be too complicated and overwhelming. So Thank you, Hans.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, please keep sending your questions for all the panelists now that you've heard all of our panelists speaking. Our next bit will be about key takeaways and conclusions. So just bear with me. I shuffle my slides very quickly, and then we will move on to our conclusion session. So key takeaways. Here, what we want from our panelists is to give us 1 or 2 key conclusions. If you're starting your AI journey, what do you need to think about and where do you need to go? So let's go to Joao first.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting to hear from different perspectives, even today, different levels of implementation. But I think what's clear is what is useful for you and your team. That should be the starting point. And also in terms of investments and getting the buy-in is really about the benefits as well. Is what is in it for the company, what is in it for your team, and what is it ultimately in it for you as a leader and a business partner. So instead of trying to do everything in one go, make it fit for purpose.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that, Joao. Really, really good. Stefan, let's come to you for your conclusions.
Yeah, I also would say just define your use cases. Where want you have your impact, and out of this use cases, just look how to make some starting effort to go in that direction. And one could start small, but just try to start.
Start somewhere. That's the key point there. Thank you very much, Stefan. Karina, your conclusions, please.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah. So yep. My conclusion is follow your gut. Is find something, or if we are going to start with a use case, try to really think, is this really adding value? Is this really adding value to my process? And also don't be discouraged if you have to give 1 step ahead and take 2 steps back, because the reality is that we don't have a manual, right, on step 1, step 2, step 3. I think just don't be discouraged by any bumps on the road, because this is not going to be always a step forward. Stay focused on your vision, and that's the most important thing. Thank you.
Great answer there. Thank you very much, Karina. Let us now finish off with Rolf. Your conclusion, please, Rolf.
Yeah, very much in line. I think this is practical AI, as I mentioned. Really, what is a use case where we can add value? And then you will have learnings. Everyone has learnings, and there are things that are different than you would expect it, and iterate to a good solution. And having a flexible enough approach to do this. So being adaptable from the tool set, not locked in something, because the challenges can be in very, very different disciplines. This is what surprises me sometimes when we are doing this. This is sometimes data, sometimes the way how the processing is, sometimes it's motivation of people, and really to react on that and being adaptable or adaptive to make it work at the very end. This is important.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. A great set of conclusions. Really, really good. We will now move on to our Q&A session. Before I do that, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sending a lot of questions. We will only have time for a few of those today, but rest assured, we will answer all of the questions that aren't answered today via email. So you can still keep sending them. So absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Let us now go to our first question, and our first question goes to Joao. Joao, so bear with me a second. I pick up the question. What would you say is the maximum potential of combining machine learning, Gen AI, in automating most of the planning? How would that look like in your mind? And would there be any hurdles? Of course, there's always hurdles. We've seen a lot of hurdles, but it's about overcoming them. So using Gen AI and machine learning together in the planning process.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of hype also from high profiles. People have even won the Nobel Prize saying that some of the jobs, if not all, will eventually be eliminated. I don't think that is anywhere soon. But to get to a fully automated process, I think we're a long way. We'll still need the business partners to bridge the gap between what is numerical and what is really business commercial insights. So I think the limit is very high, but again, until we get to the maximum, there is a lot of steps before, including but not limited to what was already said in terms of processes restructuring, upscaling of our teams, and also mindset change, because we as humans, we still want to have control over things, and I think giving the control to computer is a big task.
Yeah.
But ideally, we would have this start to end almost automated in a rolling forecast kind of way.
Yeah, and we've seen Karina's example as well, quite a lot of other people's use cases, and of course, Rob mentioned end-to-end planning there with Gen AI as well as machine learning combined together into one place, and what benefit that could give you. So you've seen the few use cases already in our presentation. Joao, thank you very much for a fantastic answer there. Let us go to Stefan. Stefan, this is a very important and interesting question, and I think I will just slightly reword this. Is when recruiting for an FP&A director now, do you think we are looking at AI-related skill sets within their CV, or how does that work? What are your thoughts on this?
It depends. I would say it depends a little bit on how you would organize your department. So if you are, let's say, if you are a very small company, a mid company with, let's say, 3 to 4 people doing FP&A, then it would be very helpful if you have a person that understands something of how you could use AI instruments. So it would be very helpful. Just because you have a very small team, you have very small resources, then it could be helpful. If you have a very big company where you have very lots of specialized functions, at the end there, if you have a person that is able to address the issues and understands how to deal together with the specialists or with AI companies, then it's not necessary to have a specialist in AI or a specialist in machine learning. If you have a person that understands what are the impact of FP&A and what you want to solve with FP&A results, getting decisions and so on, then you can hire an absolutely, let's say, classical profile from my perspective.
Yeah, no, I think great point there. Of course, it depends on size and what sort of organizations you have and what the build is there. Of course, it's always beneficial for everyone to have a little bit of AI knowledge. We're not talking about being AI experts here when recruiting, so that would definitely help. But it doesn't mean to say that that would stop you from getting a job where you've already got AI specialists within the organization. You will only be bridging that gap. So great answer there, Stefan. Thank you very much for that. Karina, we have the next question is yours. And they just want to know how much time did you guys need to train the forecasting model for the 12-month? Can you tell me a little bit about, challenges as well? So time taken and then challenges.
Yeah, sure. I think this is a very critical question because I think Stefan mentioned in his presentation, there are many tools out there that can do a lot of things. And in our case, we went through a quick assessment on what would be the best tool for our case, because you need to really see that the tool can seamlessly connect to your ecosystem, that is not going to add you interface timing, or that it really can speed up the process of coding. In our case, our data scientists are very, very happy with the one we have, and It provides you with a good way to handle the coding or the models in an easy way. This is what I hear from them, because I'm not the one coding, but I hear that it's this tool provides machine learning operations, monitoring, that it's very good in managing and handling the model, and not necessarily coding yourself. So, and that gave us a lot of speed. We started probably in June, and by September we had already the first outcomes. But of course, you need to start and do it monthly until you feel comfortable with the results, and you need to keep monitoring, analyzing, and define the scope you want to cover. But yeah, the tool is critical. Yeah.
Fantastic, great answer there. Thank you very much for that. I hope whoever's asked the question gets a good grasp of what you've been through in your process as well. Let us now go to Rolf. Rolf, how much time do we need to invest? I don't know, we've been asked per week here to integrate an AI sort of tool. How much time, of course, is needed, let's say, when we're looking at an EPM solution with AI embedded as well? How much time are people spending just concentrating on the tool? What are you seeing out there?
It really depends in which area you would use it. So we have tools that are more for prediction, data cleansing, driver-based planning, which is more or less walking you through a wizard, helping to configure the machine learning in a way to get good results out of that. So when you need to have a base understanding, but you can really, in very short time, evaluate this. If it's just about analyzing data, using natural language to query data, to get insights, to get interesting patterns out there, it's something that is pre-configured to work on your data and is like ChatGPT. You ask a question and you get results back explaining which are the main drivers that are whatever responsible for a deviation of something. Or so these are easy. When it's then coming to more complex tasks, it's difficult to say. It can be really, really long, because the surprises of something that behaves different, where you identify a pattern that is not relevant, or where you know that, oh, there's something else that we are whatever working with attribute names and descriptions, and you need to suddenly get some other information to give a proper answer, and you didn't ever think about this, and then you look for the solutions. This can be time taking.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of how long is a piece of string when you're going into
exactly. It's and when which string and
new field and a new project.
Yes, yes.
Where there's no use case as well. Yeah,
exactly. There are use cases where you have an immediate impact. There are others that are real big projects, or at the moment, sometimes for us, impossible projects so far. So this is the whole.
Of course, it's all a journey at the end of the day anyway. So thank you very much for that, Rolf. I'm just conscious of time. We'll just take one question that we can all answer. Very, very critical question, and it always tends to get asked. Are we in FP&A going to lose our job because of AI? Right? João, what is your thought?
No, I think before that happens, if it does, I think there is a lot to gain by being the user, being in the forefront of implementation. So I think, yes, if you are left behind, then you have a disadvantage, and the disadvantage will be taken by someone else who is capable of using such tools. So I think it's more the progress and the career progress and the possibilities will be shortened if you don't actually capitalize yourself on the tools and the possibilities they are available.
Well said. Well said. Thank you very much. Stefan, what are you seeing?
Again, it's time dependent. Today and tomorrow, surely not. But if we look a little bit in the future, in 10 and 20 years, I can't answer these questions. But if I would be CEO and I've had the possibility to automate certain FP&A process, I would do it. and I wouldn't take in any people, because then I have an independent machine that is not that is very compliant, and it's very comfortable for discussions with investors and with everybody. So it would make my life as CEO much more easier if I have such solutions when they exist. So if it's possible, then I would replace such departments. Of course, then you have other functions that you must fulfill. But at the end, it could be, yes, but not today, not tomorrow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And these people need to retrain, because of course, you know, there are other things within FP&A, and if you've got those AI sort of capability as well, then you move on to other roles. So as Joao said, yes, not immediately, as you said, Stefan, but in the future potentially, as long as you retrain, then there's no issue. Karina, your thoughts, please.
Well, I think there will be definitely efficiencies there. However, I think the FP&A roles will need to be redefined. The analytical capabilities, human judgment will never go away. You really need those to be successful in business. My entire life I have done FP&A. I see definitely benefits in automating, but I think it's very, very important in FP&A that humans still, as I said, have full control of the situation, of the models, of the ownership, of the results. You can always say, yes, I opt in, or I don't want to take this number. Yeah, and there will be for sure efficiencies, but I wouldn't say that this will be a complete replacement of people. No, I mean, it's more, we need to learn how to use these new tools, and that will be the competitive advantage. If you know, and if you're an FP&A person, a finance person, and you can work with this technology, you will have definitely an advantage for the future.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely love your answer. It's the positivity and of course the competitivity as well that comes with it. Brilliant. Rolf, final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think that it in the foreseeable time will eliminate the function. I think when you see the workload, I think almost it grows exponentially. That is covered from FP&A department. Indicator, when you look at a business report from a large company, decades ago, it was 10, 15 pages. Today, you have 300, 500 pages of content that is reported, including ESG, including financial consolidation. And this is just the external view. This workload is probably handled by the same proportion of amount of people. So they have to do a multitude of work. And without automation, including AI, I think it would be impossible. And the other thing that I still believe in, but that might be old fashioned, is I think company strategies and business models and how you want to steer an organization is coming so far from humans. So there has someone the idea, and this creativity part of assembling a strategy is something where I'm not sure without a human in the loop. So for sure supported with AI, but I think with humans deciding and also making decisions in which direction they want to go with their organization.
Absolutely spot on. I think AI, artificial intelligence, has got to work hand in hand with human intelligence. No two ways about it. So we need to retrain at some point in time. But yes, you know, I don't think we are going to lose our job anytime soon. So thank you very much for answering those questions. We will answer the rest via email to you guys. So last few slides for me to just finish off. Couple of upcoming webinars for your diary, so please put that in. 12th of November, Mastering Data in FP&A, and then 4th of December, 5 Transformative Trends in Finance. Again, we'll talk about AI a little bit more. Finally, great time for me to say thank you to our panelists for making such great insight and for sharing their case studies. So panelists, thank you very, very much for being part of this massive AI journey and learning journey for our audience. Let's say a massive thank you to the audience and to all of our FP&A community around the world who've joined us. And finally, let's say thank you to Jedox, who are our technology sponsor, who have made this possible as well. As you know, this is how you can keep in touch with us, so please do link up with us, go to our website, become part of our little community. And just a quick reminder before, as soon as I close this, you will get the feedback pop up. Please give us a minute of your time. Tell us how we did. Tell us also what you'd like to hear from us in the near future. So with that, I say thank you very much to everyone for attending. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and see you in the next webinar. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Have a great day. Bye now.